Hello everyone, and welcome to this second bonus video dedicated to the initial distillation of crude oil. In the first bonus video, we identified the hot flows and the cold flows available. In this last video, I propose you to focus on the design of the freight train and on energy efficiency. Let's start our thermal integration. We see that the best thing to do is to heat the crude up to 280 degrees C with a heat exchanger on the atmospheric residue, since it is the hottest flow available. But how much calories can we recover? Generally speaking, in refineries, we consider installing heat exchangers with multiple tube passes. The maximum theoretical heat exchange achievable in a heat exchanger is when the two outlet temperatures are equal. This corresponds to a temperature approach, which is the temperature difference between the two outlet temperatures, equal to 0. To keep a reasonable thermal approach compared to the maximum theoretical case, we will consider a value of 10 degrees C as shown on the graph. This means that we will be limited to a hot stream outlet temperature corresponding to the cold flow outlet temperature plus 10 degrees C. In this first heat exchanger, the crude is heated up to 280 degrees C. Since we have set ourselves a temperature approach of 10 degrees C in the heat exchangers, this means that the atmospheric residue only can be cooled down to 280 plus 10 equal 290 degrees C. This results in a duty of about 10 gigacalories per hour. And in this case, it means that the crude enters the heat exchanger at a temperature of about 253 degrees C. The atmospheric residue is now at a temperature of 290 degrees C. The atmospheric residue is then no longer the hottest flow available to heat the crude. Indeed, since the bottom pump-around liquid is available at 303 degrees C, it is therefore our next best candidate to heat the crude, since it is hotter than the atmospheric residue, which is available at 290 degrees C. But how many calories can we use to heat the crude? Well, in this case, we can clearly see that the temperature approach is negative, since we have a temperature cross. So, a single heat exchanger is not sufficient to realize the full duty. We need 2. In this case, there will be a heat exchange of 10 gigacalories per hour in each heat exchanger. And finally, this leads to a temperature approach of about 10 degrees C. Let me explain. The crude is heated up from 190 to 253 degrees C by installing 2 heat exchangers on the bottom pump-around. This leads to have a residual approach on the last heat exchanger of about 10 degrees C. Once these 2 heat exchangers have been installed, what is the next flow that is the best candidate to heat the crude? Well, in our case, the atmospheric residue is again the best candidate to heat the crude, since it is available at a temperature of 290 degrees C. So, we install again a heat exchanger on the atmospheric residue. The crude is preheated to 190 degrees C. To keep a thermal approach of 10 degrees C, this means that the atmospheric residue outlet temperature shall be 190 plus 10 equal 200 degrees C. And that corresponds to a duty of 12 gigacalories per hour. This also corresponds to a crude inlet temperature of 152 degrees C. The next best candidate for heating the crude is then the heavy diesel. The crude is preheated to 152 degrees C. To keep a thermal approach of 10 degrees C, this means that the heavy diesel outlet temperature shall be 152 plus 10 equal 162 degrees C. Heavy diesel is then consequently cooled down from 286 degrees C to 162 degrees C. And that corresponds to a duty of 3 gigacalories per hour and a crude inlet temperature of 137 degrees C. Then we continue the exercise, and we see that the next hottest flow available is the light diesel. The crude is preheated to 137 degrees C. To keep a thermal approach of 10 degrees C, this means that the light diesel outlet temperature shall be 137 plus 10 equal 147 degrees C. And that corresponds to a duty of 2 gigacalories per hour and a crude inlet temperature of 129 degrees C. Then, the top pump around liquid becomes the hottest flow available since this liquid temperature is 211 degrees C. This flow will heat the crude from 81 degrees C to 129 degrees C for an energy quantity of 13 gigacalories per hour. In this case, a temperature approach higher than 10 degrees C is observed, since the crude is heated up to 129 degrees C, and the top pump around liquid is cooled to 158 degrees C. This corresponds to a temperature approach of about 30 degrees C. Then, the atmospheric residue becomes again the best candidate since it is available at a temperature of 200 degrees C. The crude is preheated to 81 degrees C. So, to keep a thermal approach of 10 degrees C, this means that the atmospheric residue outlet temperature shall be 81 plus 10 equals 91 degrees C. And that corresponds to a duty of 13 gigacalories per hour. This also corresponds to a crude inlet temperature in this exchanger of 30 degrees C. Note that the atmospheric residue will therefore be stored at a temperature of 91 degrees C, which is suitable to prevent it from solidifying in its storage tank. In the end, we see that the kerosene is the last candidate available to heat the crude oil, from the crude oil storage temperature of 20 degrees C to 30 degrees C. The kerosene is consequently cooled down from 179 degrees C to 71 degrees C. And we will have an approach of 41 degrees C, which is very comfortable. Our thermal integration is now completed. The hot products have been cooled and both pump arounds have been used to heat the crude. Here is how the energy is distributed in the parade train. We see that the fuel burnt in the furnace represents 36% of the preheat, the pump arounds represent 28% and 42% for the hot products. The question you may now ask yourself is, but can we more preheat the crude and thus save fuel in the furnace? The answer is yes, since we still have some calories available, including the calories at the top of the column for an interesting energy quantity. We can install more heat exchangers, and most of the time we will do it to save fuel. It's all about payout time. We compare the cost of an additional heat exchanger to fuel savings. Note that it will be necessary to decide the location of the desalter in this parade train. In video 2, we said that the desalter was operating at about 130 degrees C. So it can be installed at this point in the parade train. Finally, before concluding, it should be noted that all these streams present a high fouling tendency, including atmospheric residue and crude. To avoid cleaning them too frequently, inserts are often installed in the heat exchanger tubes. The objective of these internals is to ensure a certain turbulence and thus prevent the appearance of deposits that are the cause of heat transfer decrease. Here we are at the end of the 7 plus 2 equals 9 videos dedicated to the atmospheric distillation of crude oil. Thank you very much for your attention and do not hesitate to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Refining is exciting. Note also that you can test your knowledge when answering the quiz, whose link is available in the description of the video. I'll see you very soon for more videos. Bye bye!